This program was first broadcast on Canterbury's access media station, Plains FM, and was made with the assistance of New Zealand On Air.
Today we're going to be talking all things self-care, so all the ways we can look after us too as parents. We're going to have a deep dive into what Anna and I do around looking after ourselves.
Thanks for joining us for Being Real Parents with me, Anna, and my colleague and buddy,
Kate. We work in the parenting space.
And it's here where we'll talk about our worlds as parents, the good, the not so good, and the hilarious, and mix this with what we know about behaviour and psychology.
Hey, Anna.
Hiya. Odd situation. I'm at home. You're not.
I know, this feels really weird. I can't see you.
And I can see me and nobody else.
Good
Not
times.
disconcerting at all.
It's really great for my confidence in this.
Do you know what? I decided not to come up to Christchurch today or into the studio today because I was actually thinking about this in advance of self-care stuff and realised that I would have travelled 4 times this week to Christchurch, which for me is an hour and 3/4 each way.
Yeah.
And I wanted to not do that on the same week that, Lulu was back at school. And, so just really, really thinking about how I could manage myself. And thank goodness you're the kind of person that you are, and said, yeah, sure, you can Zoom in and I'll just not see you but only ever hear you across this podcast.
Which, when you said that, I was like, yeah, that's completely fine. That doesn't worry me. And now that I'm sitting here, I'm like, oh, this is different.
Same. I don't feel like I'm doing a podcast at all. I feel like I'm just on the phone to you.
Yeah, on the phone with some fancy headphones on.
Not me.
Oh, but I'm glad that you actually are practicing your self-care around the fact that 4 times is a mammoth effort to come up to Christchurch. So I'm glad you're looking after you.
Thank you. It's always been there as a part of my kind of goals, and each year I think I'm going to get better at it, and I think I am. Like, when I was reflecting on this, I thought actually I am getting better at thinking about what I need to be doing to look after myself. Which is good. I heard the phrase the other day about not having, because what I've started doing over the years is actually putting on my, so they were calling them to-be lists, not to-do lists, which I thought was really beautiful, because I do put on them, drink your water, look outside, do your reflections, that kind of thing. So I do actually put that on my now newly called to-be list.
Amazing.
Each day.
I love that to-be list. I'm going to steal that.
Yeah, well, I did. Yeah, and you've got to look after your self-care too.
Yeah. I feel like self-care, as soon as someone mentions that, it's kind of like the old eye roll. Hey, you're like, yep. Yeah. Self-care, yeah.
Or I'll do that next week.
Yeah. Well, I'm doing some stuff for my self-care, and then you actually think about it and you're like, what am I actually doing?
Yeah, or feeling really guilty because you believe self-care is going to the gym for every day, Yeah.
And
so, I'm all about manageable self-care.
Yeah. I think, realistic, hey, and I think that's a huge part of this podcast even, is the fact that what does it actually look like? How can you fit that in? It doesn't need to be huge chunks of time, but actually just little snippets.
And that thing too about what works for you may not necessarily work for me, because I spent years thinking that I should be doing what others were doing, that I thought looked good, was the right thing. They look like they've got it all together and they play tennis. And, I mean, I am terrible at tennis. Well, actually, I think what I thought is that, growing up, I thought that in order to look after your well-being, you had to be kind of fit and energized, and that was all based around needing to play sport. I think that seemed to be really important, and I was not really that interested in sports. Still am not. I don't. People talk to me about even things they've watched on TV that I'm not across at all. Yeah, it's just has never interested me, embarrassingly. So I had to really look at the things that I do, or the ways that I can, incorporate kind of well-being, self-care, fitness, that kind of thing into my world.
Yeah, for sure. Just because you're playing a sport doesn't mean you're actually looking after yourself either, or you're forcing yourself out there to try and play tennis, but it's actually more detrimental to your self-care.
Can you imagine me playing tennis? I think my parents sent me, I mean, they had high hopes, didn't they? They sent me to tennis lessons as a kid, and, all I wanted to do was just not be there.
It would be quite entertaining to watch. Maybe we should do a team day to play some tennis.
Yeah, let's watch how Anna avoids playing tennis when somebody's paying for tennis lessons. That's a great team day. I'd love that. And then we can do something that you hate next time.
And we'll claim it as self-care. You're listening to Being Real Parents with Kate and Anna on Plains FM 96.9.
Okay, so, right, what are you doing? What do you do as your ordinary, everyday things that really support you to feel good and function well, which is actually the definition that I like of well-being, feeling good and functioning well?
Yeah, that's a great definition, hey? Yeah, I like that. What am I doing? So I think one of the most important things for me was figuring out what actually fills up my cup. So like what is actually, it's not tennis for me either. But like how...
You'll enjoy that staff day out too. Yep.
Yeah, I can't wait. And so I think like you, we kind of look at other people and think, oh, should we be doing this or should we be doing that as a way to look after ourselves? But actually, what is really important to you? Like what makes you feel full? Like what's good for the soul, basically. And one of the key things I have figured out is spending time with my friends. Like that really fills up my cup and makes me feel like, okay, all is well in the world. Going and having a good puku laugh and just, feeling like, all is well. And for me, that is spending time with my friends. But I know for others, it might be that you actually spend time on your own. Mm. Some people recharge like that. It might be meditation. It could be fitness. It could be a sport. It could be tennis. It could be any of those things.
Please, if tennis is your thing, I'm envying you. Yeah.
It will be someone out there.
Yeah, I know, and I don't those. Yeah, I mean that, but it's a cool thing, and I use it as an example because I'm so rubbish at it. But I also think that people that are good at that are pretty amazing.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, figuring out what it is, like what is your thing, what makes you tick, what actually helps you. Is it a hobby or is there, I don't know, going for a walk, what makes you feel full. But for me, I've definitely figured out one of my key things is, spending time with friends. And you know how sometimes you also, if you've had like a busy day, you sometimes don't actually feel like doing that. You're like, oh, maybe I'll just cancel and stay home and just go to bed early, and every time you actually make yourself go out, for me anyway, when I go out, I'm like, I really needed that. I really needed it for my soul. I feel good now. So that's how I've kind of figured out that's my thing.
Yeah, nice. And it is the kind of what it is that makes you feel good and lights you up,
Yeah.
gives you a wee boost, etc. Even when you're really tired and yeah, you come away from it going, oh, that was really great. Some people that's playing music or dancing or it's that kind of that uplifted feeling, isn't it? That small little boost.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So I think everyone kind of has to figure out what that is for them, hey, because it's not going to look the same for everyone.
They generally come under, the five kind of key areas, which you find in the 5 ways to wellbeing, which is that connecting, which is exactly what you're talking about, when being with people that light us up where we come away, feeling a bit recharged. There's learning something new. So that might be the playing music or, doing the craft or activity that you enjoy and are kind of progressing at, I guess, as well. But it might also be that you're actively, studying stuff and, that kind of,
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Being active is another one. So those tennis players are doing the right thing, as well as the people that are walking in the bush like me and taking things a bit slower. And then there's taking notice, that being still, being present. I always refer to that as kind of that sort of taha wairoa on Te Whare Tapawha. And then there's giving, which is that being kind. But I always am wary of that as mums because we do so much of that anyway, and I worry about the amount of giving that we do becoming resentment making.
Yeah. I hear you. Kind of constantly giving, aren't we?
Quite. So cool, nice. Connecting with friends, that's the beautiful thing. So when you can't go out to see your buddies, and it has been one of those, days that you've been at work or whatever, do you still kind of find ways to connect with them? Like you might flick a text or...
Yeah, for sure. Actually, I recently had a friend text me and say, "Can I give you a call?" And it seems ridiculous because it's like, yeah, of course you can give me a call, but we just don't actually talk on the phone, like ever. So we either kind of like are messaging or seeing each other in person. And it was so bizarre.
My daughter who says, "It's not the 90s, Mum. You don't have to call me."
Well, it actually made us really reminisce while we were chatting on the phone. She was like, "Do you remember when you were like 14 and you used to just spend like all evening on the phone?" I was like, "Yes, I do." And someone would pick up the other landline and be like, "It's time to get off." I was like, "That's hilarious. Like, how do we not do this?"
Yeah, it's so much fun.
And at the end of the call, because she actually had something specific to talk to me about as well. We weren't just yarning for the sake of yarning. But obviously we kind of checked in with each other at the same time. But at the end, she was like, "We should do this more often. We should just kind of chat on the phone." And I was like, "Yeah, we should." We haven't done that again. But for the moment that we did, it was nice.
But it's an option.
Yeah.
Even though it's 2024, talking on the phone is still an option.
It's still an option. Who knew? I didn't know it was an option, but apparently it is.
Oh. I love talking on the phone because I spend most of my life on the road. So
Yeah, that is true.
my go-to, if somebody texts me, I get told that I've got a text, but I often just ring. Yeah, which you'll know about me anyway. So,
I love that. And you can always tell that you're on the road too, because you just you can tell you've got lots of time to chat.
You're triple in time.
So good.
Nice.
So, yeah, I guess that's one way. Talking on the phone, who knew, actually is an option. But also, I guess, just those little messages through the day as well. You know, someone might send you a funny GIF or a funny meme or something that just makes you giggle, but also connects you with the other person as well.
Nice, love that.
Yeah.
What else are you doing? We promised 3 things, Kate. We've only got
We
through
did.
one.
So the other thing I've got is being in nature. So being outside, I find that always kind of resets. And I know that's quite relevant for our kids too when things are feeling, we've talked about this before, but, you know, things are feeling quite hyped. Going outside all of a sudden does recharge us. And so I've said kind of nature, like you were talking about getting into the bush or going to the beach, going to those places that you do really feel connected to nature. I think that makes a big difference. And also, obviously, getting our like vitamin D when the sun shines actually out. It does make a big difference. And like actually science says so, hey?
It actually actively can change our mood.
Yeah. So actually being able to get some extra vitamin D, I think, definitely helps. So yeah.
Oh, you'll love this. I have recently engaged with a friend of mine who lives in Dunedin, and we recognised that we don't catch up as much as we'd like to, and we're also supporting each other with some goals. And so it's a once a month walk and talk while we're both in our respective places. So I walk in the bush. I just have to choose one that's got cell phone coverage. And she's in Dunedin walking, I have no idea where. And we walk and talk. I know.
It's like combining my 2 things together.
Combining my 2 things together. And it's also that thing that I have to do it early in the morning so I don't feel like a bit scared or worried. Like I've got, I'm chatting.
Yeah. Nice. I love that. That's such a good idea. Because I always love catching up with a friend in person as well, going for a walk, because you kind of feel like you're like 2 birds, 1 stone sort of situation. Like, you're getting your exercise in and you're getting your movement done, but you're also connecting with a friend at the same time.
Yeah.
But if you can't actually meet with them, that's such a good alternative.
Yeah, I mean, they might be cooking in the house while you're chatting to them and going for your walk or vice versa. It's just, it's just that we're both doing the same thing, and it's one of the ways that we can talk through our month. We do it at the end of the month, beginning of the new month, which is why I remember it, because it happened on Saturday.
That's great. I love that.
Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah, cool. There is something special about being like in the bush or by the beach or mountains, those special places. They definitely fill you up. Well, they do for me anyway.
Yeah, they do. They do, because what they do is they engage all of your senses, smell, sight, hear, you hear different things, those sorts of things. And so it's, it's a real sensory experience, but it also kind of grounds us and makes us feel very present.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
And there's all sorts of other things too, like apraxity, if I got that right, which is the sense of the sun being on your back, which is also another one of those very present feelings that's it's nice. It's just a really nice thing to occur, and actually, contributes to boosted wellbeing too.
Yeah, awesome. That's so good. Who would have thought, hey, being outside could bring so much goodness?
Yeah. Well, yes. Who would have thought? Well, we would. I mean, if we were, thinking about, Te Ao Māori perspective, they definitely understood that, and do understand that, and I think that's where I've learned a lot of that from as well. How, we are of the earth, and
the land,
and so it makes sense then that it brings us so much joy.
Yeah, for sure.
Cool.
Awesome. And my third thing that I had was finding some balance around that too. So I always love you quote this all the time, the cupcakes and yoga. That's what always makes me think of balance now, and I love it. So thinking about that, but thinking about it in terms of the basic things as well around sleep and nutrition, those things that we kind of just need for survival. And, sometimes those things are hard to get in, but just thinking about how we can balance them out and, get those chunks of what we need in to our lives, I guess.
Yes. That'll make it for a great program, eh? Cupcakes and yoga.
It would.
Do that.
It always gives me permission when I'm kind of doing something that I'm like, but cupcakes and yoga, I don't know, it's like a little mantra maybe.
I have this, when I think about that, I have this image of me in lockdown thinking that I was going to do it all right and, being inspired by, people that I think I should be like, but never am, like Gwyneth Paltrow. I don't know why. Sometimes she gets under my skin and I think, I know I was like Gwyneth Paltrow, which I'm clearly not. But she put out this thing about, doing yoga and learning a new language and what's that sort of thing. And at one point I got out my yoga mat and then I found myself eating chips on it.
Oh, that's so good.
In front of like one of Lulu's TV programs that she was watching at the time. And I actually posted it just going, does this still count? And I was just like, surely it does. I'm stretching and eating chips.
It definitely counts. I'm all about it. It's great.
Cool. Anything else? I love that. So you've got connecting with friends, being in nature, and then finding balance.
Yeah, they're my three kind of things. Yeah.
Nice.
What are yours?
My three kind of things are, what are they? I have this little, I think I've talked about this before, that I have this pen and paper next to my bed and I write down three things I'm grateful for each day.
Nice.
So not a gratitude letter, because that takes a lot of time and thought and energy, but just the three things I just reminisce about my day and say, what am I, what things am I grateful for, what people am I grateful for today? And it just really supports me to end my day in a really positive frame.
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah. So I find that it just really takes my mind off the other things and I just really settle into these things that I've got and the positive difference that they make to my life and my world. And I know people are really skeptical about gratitude, and I was too. But then I started doing a little bit of research around it and thinking about, all of the organisations that do use it, including, I think the New Zealand Army, the US Army do as well. And there's a few things in there. There's as I said, that shifting our attention away from, emotions that we may have had before that, like that make us feel kind of low. Might be things like that, resentment or envy is another one. Hey, if we've got that going in our words, it kind of shifts us away from that. It's also that ruminating on positive things as opposed to negative things. So ruminating on the things that kind of bring us joy. And also the thing, knowing too that we are not the only ones contributing to all the positive stuff that happens in our life as well. And the cool thing about it is I think I had in my mind that the reason I didn't do it was I thought we had to share it. We had to, I mentioned gratitude letters. And I thought we had to write a letter and then give it to someone. It just really put me off. But apparently, thank goodness, the research says that even if we, it doesn't matter if we share it or not, we get the the wellbeing boost as an outcome anyway. So that's why it stays beside my bed, and it's just 3 things. And and the other thing is that in fMRI scans, they found that people that practice gratitude, it's shown in their the effects of that are shown inside of their brain, particularly greater activation of the medial prefrontal cortex. I'm pointing at mine as I do this, going, see? So it's that kind of like training the brain to be really sensitive for the things that bring us, that we're grateful for.
Nice.
That we have more positive experiences and emotions available to us.
Yeah, that's amazing. Hey, that even shows up on brain scans. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, I know. That was cinched the deal for me. That's like science.
Yeah.
Someone in a white coat said it. I'm all over it.
I hear you.
And then my third thing is, like you said, that balance thing, and I'm all about those micro actions that support us to, support us to feel good, but are also in line with our values or our goals as well. So I'm really committed to learning more about this stuff and sharing more of this stuff. So that means that I love listening to podcasts and reading books around, well-being and what supports us. And it's that thing about Russ Harris, who wrote the Happiness Trap, like bringing things into our world that are towards steps towards our goals and what we want, rather than away steps and avoiding and doing all those other sort of habits that mean that we don't get the stuff into our day. So for me, that's, podcasts and webinars. And I'd really recommend actually Action for Happiness. They're on YouTube, all of their kind of webinars that I really enjoy. And I just listen to them while I'm not talking to you on the phone, when I'm traveling or when I'm out for a walk, or, doing housework actually is a biggie for me too. So, and that's all about that, keeping on learning, part of the 5 ways, but also learning about the sorts of things that really support me and support what I do and, I guess who I am. So your 3 things are connecting, being outside, and finding balance. And my 3 things are writing down 3 things I'm grateful for each night, taking kind of micro actions that move me more towards what I want, and learning about well-being and taking that on board for me, and then also as a part of that, learning new things around that and listening to podcasts and webinars. Like, nobody needs 3 tips after that, do they? Oh, speaking of the yoga and cupcakes, I just decided then and there that that's probably what we're going to call our new program based out in Selwyn, starting on the 29th of February at 7 p.m, where it looks like what we're going to do is a little bit of kind of like a wellbeing chat for parents, and then we'll do maybe some yoga mindfulness strategies that parents can take home and do there. To emulate and place inside of their ordinary everyday lives. And I should say that you're welcome to join us. And you can do that by just emailing me directly, anna@realparents.org. It would be so cool to have you along.
Awesome. Thanks for being with us today.
We hope you've learned that while parenting is challenging sometimes, that's totally normal. It's been fun having you with us. Keep being amazing.